Are you an entrepreneur building wealth while designing freedom? Welcome to Hunt for Success, the podcast where business, lifestyle, and the pursuit of a life well lived come together. Each week, Dr. Sam McGough sits down with founders, operators, and high performers to explore the principles, discipline, and decisions that create real success in business and in life. From the boardroom to the backcountry, these are conversations about building wealth, earning freedom, and designing a life worth hunting for.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Hunt for Success podcast. My name is Sam McGough. I'm your host here, and today I have a special guest. His name is Jeramie Worley. He has been in real estate. He's got a property called Lake Longbow where he entertains executives and gives them a retreat and lets them do a little hunting, a little maybe making a fire, all the things like that. Jeramie, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for being here. It's quite an honor to be on this podcast because this is one of my favorite topics ever.
Great. I find that, like when I started the podcast, everybody that, they had these similar interests. It's a pretty easy conversation. So, yeah. Well, let's get into it. So you tell us a little bit about your history, a little bit about yourself, and then a little bit about Lake Longbow, and then we can kind of get into some questions.
Yeah, I've been in hospitality for a long time and real estate. So basically, specifically Airbnb type properties.
Okay.
So I wrote one of the first books on investing in Airbnbs that was out there. I published it in 2016. My wife and I started acquiring and operating short-term rental properties in 2006. So before Airbnb was invented.
That was a while, yeah.
Yeah, and so we got to see the breakout of short-term rental type properties, through the worst real estate economy in history. And it was exciting because we really love to take care of people. I didn't realize how much I loved hospitality. I mean, hospitality means that I've thought of you before you've arrived. And my wife and I deeply care about people recharging and margin in their lives because we've experienced some things in our lives that, like medical issues with your kid. Guess what? That's forced into your life. You have to make time for that. Mm-hmm. So I'm really passionate about connecting with executive dudes specifically who are burnt out, overrun, have horrible relationships that they want to fix with their kids or their wife. Our first ministry is to our family. There's no better place to start that than to go get in the woods, get recharged, and come back out and be the man that you're supposed to be, to lay down your life for your wife, for your children. But we have to be a little bit selfish and get out there in the woods to have the peace and margin and time to just hang with other dudes and to connect with the land. It does something different to your brain that's, I think, essential to be a man nowadays.
Now, I grew up hunting and being outdoors, and a lot of the guys I talk to, same thing. I know your story is a little different, but also, are you going after people that have never been out in the woods, never done any of this thing? And how do you go after those guys?
Not necessarily that, but I do love to challenge those people when I find them. So I started out, like I said, in the short-term rental world, and then that kind of expanded and blew up my business to like a regional real estate operator. So I started going to some of these masterminds just so I could connect with other regional professionals, CEOs, just executive types, because I wanted to invest in expanding my network. And what I found in the one-on-one conversations that I would have with both men and women is that they've not taken time to, everybody likes to vacation in Cabo and some crazy, like beautiful beachy type places. But every single one of these people, I found that I was unique. When I was a redneck from the Midwest, from the Ozarks, people are like, what do you mean you like to roll around in a razor and get muddy? And, what do you mean you actually like to hunt and, get in with the land? And what do you mean you want to take 10 days off in the middle of November and not talk to anybody? You know what I mean? And connect with the land and harvest from the land. Mm-hmm. Teaching people about harvesting from the land is a great passion of mine.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen, because I've kind of noticed this in the last probably decade, more of kind of a resurgence of people wanting to like connect with the land, connect with their food source. I've seen that, like I'm starting to see I guess it was like the millennials and some of these people doing this, and I know it's a little bit, but have you seen that yourself?
We have. Actually, that was a big deal during COVID as well. You
Mm-hmm.
saw recreational type activities go off the charts. For a while there, we had worldwide tourism shut down for a little bit. And then the minute things started opening up, it spiked like crazy, proving that people will never miss the opportunity to get out and go on vacation ever again. Yeah. It created a vacation renaissance. And that's when we ended up buying this property. It was just after COVID, because Kelly and I, Kelly's my wife, our best buds is this British couple that immigrated from the UK a few years ago. Love the Ozarks. You know, they're more rednecks than they are Brits, you know, by now. And they just love to hunt and fish and swim and hang out in the woods. And we were in a bubble together during COVID. And so we really got to just become family. And we took the opportunity once. It was my birthday around 2020. And we rented a cabin on this massive private hunting retreat. And this private hunting retreat had red stag on it. Have you ever seen red stag?
Like a herd? Stag. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the view of red stag running across the road was like a watershed moment for me. I had this awe-inspiring moment. This property had amazing fireplaces. It had a private lake, and it had all this acreage that you could hunt on. And at that point, I was hooked. I thought, if I can find this property, and I started looking, and everything I found was $2 million, $2 million, $2 million, $1 million. And then we found this property just a few, like 30 minutes farther away than what we wanted. So it takes us about an hour and a half to get there. Yeah. But we live kind of far away too. It's an hour away from like a major airport. Yeah. But still, that drive into the woods from that major airport sets the tone for when we get out there and we found this property. It came on the market. I said to Lisa and Matt, my business partners, I said, let's make an offer. So we called the people up, made an offer before we'd even seen it.
Wow.
And we went out there and we toured this property, and it was this 80 acre property. Sorry. We can edit that part out. I'm getting all choked up, Sam. It was this 80 acre property with a 10 acre private lake. Nice. And it had the most amazing sunsets on it. And we thought, we got to do it. We got to make an offer. We've got to close on this property. So we did. And that was a couple of years ago. And we've been spending this time just remodeling, cutting trails, wildlife management, working with the Missouri Department of Conservation to come up with this plan on how to manage the land appropriately. And it's been really cool just making sure that we're turning this land into the beautiful gem that it needs to be.
When I talk to people that, especially landowners, they, you know, the pride, you know, they kind of get past the hunting sometimes. They get into like this to manage it, like you're talking about. And then it becomes so much more, like I said, more, I guess, proud, and how much like when someone else, you know, because it starts out like we're like hunting it, and then it becomes like, look at this, you know, this property that has flourished. And now when someone else comes on board, you know, comes out there and look at it, you know, it's like there's more of a pride there than for you being out there. Is that true?
There is, without a doubt. And the pride also comes not only from introducing people to the hunting aspect of it, from just getting out there and using your hands. So like, we're executives, right? We work in an office, we work with our brains, we're strategy guys, but imagine applying your brain and strategy to emergency situations, because that's always happens out on the ranch, right? So one of the first big deals that we had is we went out there and there was all this water over the road, and we like couldn't get to the property. And we looked after the water went down and we saw that our culverts were all just jammed up, not maintained by the previous owner. So we're like, okay, I guess we've got some creek management to do. So we got some big waders, and this was like early spring, like warm enough to be snake season, you know? And we are waist deep in this water, like reaching down in, pulling logs out of these culverts. And then we actually have it all on video too. And somebody, like, you could see a tiny little whirlpool where it started to drain, and then we got all that out of there, and we just drained the swamp, dude.
Yeah.
And it was so satisfying to watch that, get it maintained. The road is dry now, but like we just had to get out there and work with our hands. And there's nothing more refreshing to me. There's nothing that makes me want to tackle my to-do list when I get back in the office than being exhausted from working with my hands and my brain and being on a skid steer, a track loader, fixing some road, sitting by a campfire, having a cigar, having a great conversation, hearing the coyotes in the distance at 11:30 at night. There's owls that come flying and just start checking in on you to see what you're up to. Armadillos are rampant out there, and armadillos are loud, so you always feel like somebody's walking up to you, and just having that experience. And out there I always carry a sidearm too, so having the opportunity to actually walk around feeling safe because I've got a weapon that I know how to use on my land. At any point in time there could be a black bear that sneaks up on me, so it helps to have a dog, helps to have a friend out there with you, four-wheeler, all that stuff. It's just like redneck paradise.
Yeah. But growing up redneck myself, that's what I've noticed is more and more people like from like cities and from that didn't grow up that way. They crave that same thing. And if they ever get a taste of it, they love it. And so like I think what you're providing, not only just for people that, that know what they're doing, but like that providing a space for people to come out there and learn some of those things and feel some of that. I mean, that's an incredible thing. Can you walk us through the property? Like we turn onto the property, open the gate or whatever there is. Just act like we're driving through. What do we see?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing you do when you're on the gravel road and you're approaching the property is when you look out over to your right, you can see where the lake begins. So you travel the length of this lake as you're kind of looking to your left, I'm sorry. And you can see the lake. You can see we cleared some old cabins that used to be there. And so now it's all grass. It's gentle to the water. We let some of the locals walk up and buy daily fishing packages. The lake is completely stocked with black bass and crappie and bluegill. We have Canadian geese that love to hang out there for a part of the year. And this past year, I had 6 swans out there all winter long. I have beautiful pictures of those. And so just the serenity as you drive up to the property sets the tone, and you turn left into the property. And as you go down a little gentle hill, you can turn right onto the fields and get out over to the lake and have some access over to the lake. But if you continue going straight, the road branches off into 2 different directions. To the right takes you out to the field, and it's about a 5-acre hayfield, which we call the Ohm, O-M. The reason why we call it the Ohm is because it just feels like it's a bowl. It's completely down inside this bowl. It's right next to a creek. So sometimes it gets real muddy, and it's great to run your four-wheelers through when it gets. The first time I ever operated my brand new four-wheeler out there, I greased the belt on it real bad because we were just running through the mud so bad. I've got some great slow-mo pictures of mud like flying up over your head. But what we like to do is go out there at night because it is the best stargazing because there's no light pollution. We see meteor showers out there all the time, and then sometimes in the summertime, when there's no stars or if it's overcast, when you look to the trees, you can see the fireflies in the trees. So some people call them lightning bugs around here, but fireflies is what other people call them.
That's what we call them.
Yep. And so it's just so peaceful. I feel more connected to God when I am right there in that place because I can hear him. It's quiet. And that's the field, and then you can continue on this gravel road, and it takes you up to a little cabin, which is really just a double wide on a permanent foundation that we remodeled, gave it a little bit of a lodgy feel. It sleeps 16 people, and it's just got this big outdoor covered deck, so when it's raining, you can still be outside. It's got a great view of that lake. We've got a smoker out there, an offset smoker, so we smoke briskets and pork butts and spatchcock turkeys and put those out there. I didn't realize, Sam, that I never really hunted my whole life until I turned about 40 because my dad never did it. My grandpa never really did it. And frankly, I don't think I ever really just liked being out in the cold a lot and sleeping out in a pop-up camper on public land, and having to drag a deer out of the woods. I didn't realize how spoiled I was. I want to get up at a little before 6 a.m., have a cup of coffee, put it in a thermos, walk up the hill to my deer stand, watch the sunrise for an hour, enjoy the sunrise, watch the world wake up, one animal at a time. First it's the birds, the crows, next is the squirrels, and next the deer start come walking by. And you bag one, and you go get your four-wheeler, and you put it on the back of your four-wheeler, and you drag it down. And I didn't realize I was spoiled and that I just wanted luxury hunting experience. And so I thought, man, I got to offer this to people. So that's why I go to the executive level, because we go full out. I mean, we charge people right now $1,500 for a base price. There's premium levels based on the rooms that you choose, or you can have a bunk room. We do a fishing package and a hunting package, and we allow people to come on what we call the VIP Whitetail Weekend. We pick them up at the airport. We take them to Branson, and I've got a property in Branson that I put them up with in the night, and we have a little mixer. So I invite people from my circle of influence to come and meet these executives from all over. So we just do a little mixer.
Yeah.
Next morning we get up and we test out our firearms. We make sure every man has the opportunity to hit a dinner plate, at 100 yards. That's the qualification. They've got to qualify. They've got to be able to do that because we want a humane kill. And so then we have a little breakfast. And we drive out to the property, and I just watch these guys, Sam. I watch them lose phone signal on the way to the property, and they just put their phones down. They fall asleep, and then we get to the property, and we take them on a tour. And up from the house is this big ridge top. So when you're on the ridge top, you can see everything from up there. And the deer just love to walk along the ridgetop. We've cut about a 14-foot wide trail, big enough for our razor to go blowing through. That's another thing. We don't do razors and four-wheelers when we're hunting because we want to make sure when everybody gets one, then we will. But we're pretty respectful. But, man, those deers love to walk across that ridgetop trail. And we let the campfire set the agenda and the conversation. I haven't really done a whole lot of, programming or invited, certain people to talk about certain topics because I just wanted the woods to be the topic.
Yeah. Well, like we were talking about before we jumped on here, is when you get these guys together like that, the topic is, they're gonna talk a little bit about everything. And so you don't really have to have set an agenda. They're gonna, talk about what's worked, what's not worked, what's working for them, what's not working for you. And they're going to ask questions, especially the more that they relate to, each other on other levels. They feel they start getting trust, and not just themselves, but or the other people, but then also in the, what they're asking those guys, and letting their guard down a lot, because it's hard sometimes to be in a room full of high, earners or, high achievers to be vulnerable, but you can out there when you're talking hunting.
Here's the thing. You take these high achievers and you cut their legs out from under them. You force them to take off their black belt and put on a white belt. And I've got one really good buddy of mine who he's the head of a very large organization, and he's got to be on all the time. I mean, he's a man's man. He's got a ton of business experience, but he'd never been hunting before. So I got the opportunity to go and sit with this guy who's now a great buddy of mine because I watched him get his first deer. I loaned him my gun, so he got it with my gun on my land, and it was a joy to be able to witness this guy go through this. I saw him practice. I saw him post up, and I saw him take out a deer with a great humane kill. We've done it twice in a row now. We want everybody to have the opportunity to field dress the deer.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the full experience, but he didn't want to do it. And that's cool. We don't force people to do it. And we have guides out there as well. So at every station, we have an executive with a guide. And so, He didn't want to field dress the deer, and that's okay. I wanted more experience, so I got to field dress his deer for him. But I paused and I was like, hey, I want you the opportunity to harvest the heart.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. And he used all of his best professional social skills to convince one of our guides to do it for him,
Mm.
saying things like, I would be honored if you would take this opportunity to help me do this or do this for me. And the guide, I love putting rednecks in people's lives because this redneck just stared at this business executive and said, my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter did this yesterday, you know? And so that executive grabbed the knife out of my hand, harvested the heart, and then we toasted that night.
Yeah.
You prepare that heart like a filet mignon. It's one of the most tender,
I love heart.
nutritious pieces of organic food you could possibly have. And the celebration of harvesting from the land and his massive breakthrough. He told me he went home. He never felt like a man like that because 2 months after he went home, here comes the deer processing. We sent him a cooler full of deer meat to feed his family with.
Yeah. That's a really cool story. I love heart. I'll break it up and tell a story real quick. My I was elk hunting a couple years ago, and the guide he actually went on to win the series, won the series alone, and he was, I mean, you know, man's man, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
he survived like 100 days out in the tundra. He was, I mean, super. I always got it because I was staying we were staying in this like nice cabin, and I remember walking by his room and he was sleeping on the floor, and I'm like, why are you sleeping on the floor? And he's like, I spend so much time outdoors, I don't want to get soft. Anyway, and I was like, wow. But so we're out in the middle of nowhere. I kill an elk. He runs his hands in, grabs the heart, takes a bite, and gives it to me. And like, what am I supposed to do? So I just take a big bite, blood ripping, just dripping down my beard. And but now I've always eaten heart, but I've never eaten one like still basically beating. But
How did it? What did it do for you? What did you
but
feel during
that
that?
was the thing is you're getting a transfer. I know why the people did it back in the day. There's
Yeah.
a transfer. There's a rush of energy. There's something mental that happens from that. And now I've done it more than once now because it's like it's something. And I don't know if it's spiritual or what, but he's what he said. He's like, this is the way that they used to do it. That you're getting the energy of this, this elk. And
Mm-hmm.
and I believe in it. And so I think more
I do
people
too.
should eat organs and eat the heart.
Yeah, nose to tail eating, when you research that, it's extremely healthy. It's the way we're supposed to eat
Yeah,
because just eating the lean meat of the animal isn't the best for us.
where the vitamins are at.
Right.
The real nutrients are in those there. So if you ever, I always tell people like, if you ever watch like a carnivore animal, like a wolf, a coyote, a bear,
Mm-hmm.
first thing they eat is the organs.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep. They do. And
very,
I did the same thing with my first deer. I was praying before I had the shot. I was just praying that God would provide the best of the land. I wanted to eat the best of the land.
yeah,
And sure enough, it was my second time out hunting. This
yeah.
big old buck comes up and he was chasing a doe. And I just kind of, posted up and it was standing between two trees. And I was like, well, the kill zone was about, half in front of the tree and half behind it. So I was
Mhm.
just waiting for that kill zone to show up a little bit better. And then I just kind of cheated all the way towards that tree. And I thought to myself, if I miss, I'll hit the tree. I'm going to cheat
Mhm.
on the side of the tree. And I hit it, dropped it just like that, waited the appropriate length of time and walked up to that and put my hand on the animal. It was still warm. And I'd never killed an animal before in my entire life. And I had a Native American type experience. For me, it was I put my hand on the animal and I spoke to it and I called it brother. And I said, your life will not go to waste. Your life force will transfer to me and my family, and I promise that I'll make it worth it.
Yeah.
We don't waste out there.
I think, it's funny. Most hunters have a greater respect and value for that than the typical person who just eats a cheeseburger.
I agree. And in
You know?
fact, I love to get in I like to poke people that when I talk to them and people don't like hunting. People don't like, the harvesting of animals. That's okay. That's everybody has their own preference. I mean, they'll be overpopulated and get chronic wasting disease if we don't manage the population. We are the apex predator. And that's what I like to teach people and talk to them about. And I'm like, well, do you eat hamburger? Have you ever killed a cow and skinned it and harvested it? So you're participating in it, but you just don't want to be a part of it. You don't want to see what happens behind closed doors.
Right.
And I think anybody that eats meat should have the opportunity to process an animal.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So you mentioned something earlier and it got me thinking. As a Christian, and then there's there's really only, and especially in today's world, there's just so much noise. And you're talking about being on the land, going hunting, and I talk to a lot of people that hunt, and they all go back to that. They go back to that. It's like that quiet time, that time I can actually listen, I can hear. Um, I mean, or when you're out there and you bring these guys on there, are they having some of those similar experiences? Are they getting into that? Is that something you're seeing?
We are. And I try to keep it a very non-judgmental and sort of, like I said before, non-themed or like no
Mhm.
programming,
Mhm.
because there's Christian guys out there and there's
Mhm.
guys that are not Christians. Like there's no requirement there. But if somebody comes out there and they start talking about their life, they start feeling comfortable around the guys and there's something they want to share or a story they want to tell. I've got the last time I was out there, I had a helicopter pilot who flew Apache helicopters, and he's got a ton of stories that'll change your life in a second because of
Mhm.
what he's been through. Like 4 minutes from death, his
Mhm.
life was saved, you know, because the missile went up through the helicopter blades and didn't hit him. Like, what are the chances of that?
Yeah.
Guys get into those kinds of stories around a campfire, and it makes you realize that there's more to life. Some people want to give their hearts to the Lord. That's great. Some guys want to have a few drinks too many. That's okay too. We don't judge people. We want them to have their experience that they want to have. If they want to have some classy bourbon, cool, they can. If they want to walk into the woods, what happened is we have 8 to 12 guys out there, and the guys generally kind of pair up or go in threes. Maybe they'll go on the lake and do some fishing. Some guys will get and go for a little hike. Maybe some guys will go out to another couple deer stands. We have this like safety board when we go out there, so you've got to write your name on the whiteboard so people know where you're at, so
Mhm.
they know not to walk in certain areas. And it's just really amazing how people discover their own connections. Last time we were there, I had two brothers come that hadn't really seen each other. This was an
Mhm.
opportunity for them to hang out with each other
Oh,
in a deer stand. They got to hang out with the rest of us too, but the most fulfilling thing for them was the opportunity to hang out together.
yeah.
So we like when those things happen.
Nice. Shifting gears, I know we've talked a lot about hunting, and I want to kind of get some of the strategy that you used because you're in business. What strategy? You said you've been in masterminds. I know you were doing in real estate, and what are the key strategies? Because a lot of people were listening here too also want to pick up some like key, strategic points to them to grow in their business. They
Hmm.
love hunting, but how do they grow? And so, like, and you've had a lot of success. What are some of the key things that you think that were part of that success?
Well, I would say number one, we're still in the middle of it. We're still in the
Mhm.
middle of figuring all that out. But now, going into, I would say, our fifth year of owning the property, is I would say number one, it's going to take more time and money than you originally thought.
Yeah.
That's true with a lot of projects. But I love Tony Robbins' comments that says that most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. This is a legacy property for me. This is something I'll pass on to my family for generations. So I'm going to enjoy it while I'm building it. So
Right.
going into it with that attitude, I think is key. I go out there myself to experience it, to enjoy it. In fact, today at 6:30, I'm loading up my truck and I'm headed out there for the Easter holiday, and
So,
I'm just gonna connect. And
yeah.
so the other thing that I would say is that one of the things that I probably would have done earlier is I would have connected with more people like you, more people that that need retreat type experiences like a yoga group that wants to come do a paddleboard yoga experience, or just more groups of guys that want destination places, looking for places for them to hang out. Because what we did, since our experience was Airbnb, we just put it on Airbnb.
Mhm.
Except the problem is, for an Airbnb type property to succeed, you really need proximity to amenities. You need a place like Branson, Missouri, where there's 11 million people that come there. So you're going to succeed falling off a log. So I can't
Mhm.
say that we've used Airbnb to make the numbers cash flow like crazy. We've been able to make the property in some years pay for itself. And in some
Mhm.
years, we've had to subsidize the property. But now
Mhm.
I can own my own private resort, and instead of spending 80,000 a year to own it, I spend 20,000 a year to own it, or
Right.
30,000 a year to own it. And the more ideas that we get for improving the property, the more like, for example, we improved the property and we created the gentle to the water side on the other side of the lake. So opening that up to the local community to come and do fishings was a great thing that we did. This year we ran an area appreciation special for that local rural area, and what we found, there's no hospitality in rural Missouri. There's like one Motel 8, but when people, there's no Airbnbs out there at all. So we get a lot of bookings from that. We've actually had some people stay there, like a utility company that's out there with, 5 guys, and they're putting in like fiber across rural
Mhm.
Missouri. We hosted those guys for like 2 months out there, and they loved it. It was way better than staying in a hotel at night. So those kinds of things have really helped us along. But I would, and then of course, finding the executives and curating the VIP Whitetail Weekend is, I think, where we're going to double down, because I've started conceptualizing a work weekend, and I
Mhm.
want to do it this spring, late this spring, where I invite some guys out there at cost. Like, let's not charge a big margin. Let's get out there. Let's get some chainsaws. Let's clear the levee. Let's do a little, or even let's get the Missouri Department of Conservation out there and do a section of land where we do a controlled burn. Let's learn
Mhm.
about what a controlled burn means. Let's learn about what it does for the benefits of land management. Let's give you the opportunity to learn how to do one on your own land. And we do the controlled burn and then come back year after year to see what that looks like, to see what happened the next year when we did this.
Yeah.
And we do that in sections. Another thing I want to do is a wilderness weekend where we connect with maybe like one of those, contestants from Alone. We bring them out and we have them demonstrate something, and give all the guys and maybe a father son, weekend to go out and, like, here's the rule: show up for breakfast every day at 10 a.m. We're going to have breakfast. You're going to have breakfast no matter what. But you need to go out there and you need to build a shelter. We're going to give you a 5-gallon bucket full of food and a backpack full of supplies to survive for 2 nights out there. And just do it. Go fishing in the lake. I don't really want a bunch of people hunting at the same time. So that's
Yeah.
why we would provide the meat,
Yeah.
and give them the opportunity to survive out in the woods like that. And
Yeah.
so we're kind of thinking of those kinds of activities. And so those will be launching soon.
Oh yeah, and I can definitely try to connect you with Roland. I don't know he's all over the place, but
What
yeah,
season was he in?
7.
7? Okay.
I
Okay.
think he was the winner of 7. He built a rock house. You can look him up.
Okay. I will do that, because my
Yeah.
wife and I just watched season 11. It was
Yeah.
phenomenal, but I don't
Yeah.
remember season 7. I'll go back and
I,
check.
I I think it was season 7. I'm pretty sure it was, but it's yeah, he built it's called like he's known for building that. He built this house out of rocks.
Wow.
And that's where how he survived. Because I mean, like I remember watching this show, and it's funny because when I was hunting with him, I got to watch the show with him, and because like at nighttime we wouldn't have anything to do, and we would watch the show,
That's
but
cool.
it was up in like the tundra somewhere, and it got so cold that these rocks are maybe 6, 8 inches, maybe some were bigger than that, but it was so cold that there was frost on them inside it, and he's got a fire going and everything, and I want to say he said it got 30 below or something like that, but
That's cool.
but yeah, he survived. He killed an ox, a musk ox, and I think that was a big part of his survival. I mean,
Food
so
security is big on those programs.
oh my gosh, it is. So yeah, he was a wealth of knowledge of survival, but also, I mean, that was the thing. I think he told me it was like 200 days a year in the wilderness in Alaska.
Hmm.
Like this was just Tuesday for him.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And what I would like to do, I would say, It's not always easy either because we're talking about all of the good stuff and the benefits. Well, let me tell you a horror story.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much horror, but let me just talk about real estate development as it pertains to this. So, we're in rural Missouri. We're developing the land. One of the things we decided to do is how do we get more people out here? How do we host more people? So, what we did is we tore down those cabins and we came up with a plan to install 4 RV pads. And when I
Mm-hmm.
say RV pads, I don't mean RV pads like all like stacked on top of each other like an RV park. We put like pads and then the space of a pad, another pad in between it. So like big, a lot of room to stretch out. We put
Mm-hmm.
them right on the waterfront. So you
Oh,
literally walk out your front door and you could spit in the water.
mm-hmm.
And you can fish for your breakfast right there. We've got fire pits there. We've run all the sewer, we've run all the water lines. We are ready to start hosting RVs out there, or if we have a whitetail weekend and we want to have more guys, or if we want to have a couples weekend, put every couple in their own upscale RV. And we ended up having trouble with the well. It was an old well, and every remedy that we tried had already been thought of. The well casing had already been repaired, so it looks like we're going to have to replace the well out there. Well, we took out a home equity loan for about 70 grand to install all this and got it done. But there's some things we'd like to do. We'd like to improve the entrance to make it look sexy. We want to put some split rail fence along the way so you get that emotional pop as you come through, like it's well manicured. And we want to make sure that we're out there maintaining the trails, and we want to have those RV sites ready to go. And the well is going to be probably about 40 grand more than what we expected it to be. It depends on how deep we have to go. It could be 20 to 40 grand. After that, we're fully operational, and we've already have a really great book of business. So we've got a great base to build on. But like, I can't go and take this and sell it as a profitable syndication,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just a retreat place. It's going up in value every year that we own it. It's gone up almost $250,000 since we've owned it. That's not even counting the improvements that we've put into it, on the other side. So what we're considering doing is finding some like-minded individuals. I mean, we could find one guy to come in and buy a third of it, but I want more people to have the opportunity to have some kind of ownership to it. So we're considering creating an LLC and selling off a third of Lake Longbow and dividing it up into $50,000 increments and raising $500,000 and bringing on people that will get rights to the property. So you and your
Mm-hmm.
family can have the opportunity to use it, of course, within reason. You get an automatic invitation to the whitetail weekend. And culturally, we need to align. Culturally, we need to be dudes that want to build something here and possibly even scale something into the future. Because as I was telling you earlier, I've got 2.5 acres on the south coast of Kodiak, Alaska, that we need to develop into a fishing retreat. So if we
Yeah.
get the right like-minded individuals for the right purpose, we can start at Lake Longbow and grow from there. And I know guys, I'm sure you know guys that have land that would love to probably participate in something like this. Creating this model and perfecting it is something that I definitely want to do. So I'll be in touch with you as soon as I launch that so that we
Yeah.
can, and I want to interview the guys. Like, you can't,
Yeah.
I'm not just going to sell a share to somebody. You got to come out and spend a weekend with me.
Yeah.
And I got to know that you're not a douchebag. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I get it.
So
No,
that's what
I
we
think
want to
it's a
do.
great idea. I think giving, thinking of people like oh, let's take back for years, I wanted my own land and I didn't have either the capital and I still don't I still have land, but I don't have the time. you
Right.
know, because like what you're doing, it takes a lot of time to manage to kind of help manage the land. And so
Exactly.
if you can give a lot of guys opportunity to invest in something like that, get a piece of it, and so it's not as heavy a lift for those guys
Yeah.
to access. And then, on the backside, flip side of that, people love like everything done for them.
They do.
Like when you're talking about like going on, I mean, I like some of the struggle, some of the like, I don't have to be comfortable all the time and all that stuff. That's part of the hunt.
Yeah.
But also I really love it when it's like, you know, bougie hunting, and that way I also get I have that ability to take my wife or do something because she doesn't want to rough it. She doesn't want to, sleep on a cot. I'm going to Canada this year and I'm sleeping on a cot for 2 weeks,
Right.
and she's like, no, I'm out. I'm not showering in like a pull down shower, and she's like, no, I'm not doing that, but for me to go moose hunting, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sometimes we want to get away from our
mhm,
ladies to make the
yeah,
heart grow fonder, right? I mean, it's always good coming home, when we after we shower the dirt off of ourselves and get the dirt out from under our fingernails. It's good for us to be out there. The thing I love about Lake Longbow is that because we came from an Airbnb background,
mhm,
it has the things that the ladies like as well.
yeah.
So you've got a nice big table with an umbrella looking out towards the west. You can watch sunsets. You can take a look over the lake. People can play cards. People can go for walks around the lake.
The thing about it is you're onto something too, because there's a huge market for that. I really don't think you've explored to where this can go
I
yet. Just
agree.
talking to you, there's a massive market for it. I would love to, and I'll introduce you to the people that I hunted with down in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
They, they're at the highest level, like
Mm-hmm.
the highest level you can think of, as far as like amenities and uh, service.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as and I've been a lot some of those places. Like I can't think of a better place, and they do it at such a level. They're great people, but it's because they are great people. That's why, and they really
Yeah.
care about people. And I think that's what you're going for, because you do too. And like so, coming from the hospitality background, well, in the hunting world, not everybody comes from hospitality background. They're hunting guides.
Right.
So they're not I always have that thought process. So you'll win by having that hospitality first mentality.
Here's how you do it. You have a questionnaire when people decide they want to come to the whitetail weekend. You send them a great questionnaire. First of all, have you got any food allergies? Right.
Mhm.
Um, my son and my wife both have massive food allergies. So there was a guy that came to our whitetail weekend last year, and he said, I've never felt more cared for because we prepared separate meals for him. And that takes a lot of energy and effort. But he
Mhm.
felt so cared for because we looked out for him. And most places, when people have food allergies, they go somewhere, it's a big deal. You just
Mhm.
can't eat out. People just can't shop for you. But because we've been through that and we've experienced it, because that margin was forced into our lives, it's easy for us to interact with those kinds of people. And we also say, what's your favorite snack? What's your favorite drink?
Mhm.
Alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and we provide it. People show
Mhm.
up there. There's a big box of classy cigars. Participate if you want. If not, nope, they're there. There's a full bar there. We don't want people drunk, but we want them to feel like there's an abundant feel, like they can come up and get a nice glass of Glenlivet. It's part of the package. Um, that feeling of just being able to grab a glass of classy scotch, throw a couple rocks in it, sit by the fire, and just tell some funny stories and laugh.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it's about.
that is what it's about. And that's what most people are looking for.
Hmm.
So, to some degree, I'm just listening to your story. Do you like your other businesses is allowed, because like this is not your full-time gig, right? Am I
No.
so, but you're spending a lot of time developing this property. Like, how did you get your other job to allow for such freedom to be able to do this?
Well, I would say number one, the stakes were high for me. For the why I wanted to do it. I prioritized it number one because I grew up at a cabin, Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. That's where that's the show the show Ozark. It's about Lake of
Hmm.
the Ozarks. So I
Right.
grew up there every summer, and I brought my friends there. I've got so many memories of growing up there. So instead of traveling all over creation, my parents, they did great. My dad and mom, they took care of us as best they could, and they went in with my grandma and grandpa on the second home, and we had a boat. We water skied. We were lake people, and it was great. And I have all of those memories that I will never forget. And I wanted that for my kids.
Hmm.
I've got slow motion videos of my kids running and jumping and diving off the dock. They show up in my phone all the time. I've been hunting with my son. It's beautiful type stuff. And so that's why. But right now I'm in real estate development anyway. I've got a 60 unit short term rental syndication on Table Rock Lake right now. And so I'm in real estate development and I'm in hospitality. That's a big project. That's an $81 million project. So for me to go work on a $500,000 project while I'm there is just fun for me.
Yeah.
And I get to get inside the track loader and operate it as opposed to paying the bill for guys getting out there and doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, that's therapy. And so I would say it's definitely a hobby. I don't need it to be super profitable. So the worry and the fear isn't there. And
Hmm.
it just becomes something that I have the opportunity to do something cool with. I can use all my resources in my career at Lake Longbow and try to create something where I can serve a guy like you. And I'm a business professional, but I believe in marketplace ministry. I teach multiple discipleship training classes every year. That's how I try to serve God. I try to make Jesus' last command my first priority. And in order to be able to do that, I need to be able to recharge. And in life, you're going to come across those dudes who are kind of your rock, those dudes that you want to roll with and hang out with, grow with. The guys that I've assembled, we're doing multi-million-dollar deals together. And that wasn't even the intention. The
Yeah.
intention was to come out, sit by campfire and hunt. But the bonds that you create, the trust level that you create transcends all of the time and energy and effort that it takes to go out and meet people to do business with these masterminds. Like,
Yeah.
somebody,
Right.
and that matters in business.
I agree. I mean, we're on the same path, like with me with this and you with your thing. And I think it's for me, it was like, I'd rather be doing business with people that were like me, that had the same interest and, you know, and then also like, developing and having intention on like getting involved in these sort of things, and like what you're saying, when I hear you talk, it's like you had to be very intentional about your plan, or else you could get lost in your bigger projects, and so this meant a lot to you. So
I need time away from those big projects.
yeah,
And, like I said, if I can get out there and rake and shovel and wear myself out,
yeah,
I love waking up that next Monday morning. Like we're going out there for Easter. So we got 4-day weekend.
yeah,
So I'm going to come back on Tuesday and I've already talked to my assistant. I know exactly what we're going to tackle. We've already had our meeting for the day. Because after this, I'm going to pack and get the heck over to the place. My assistant already knows the top 5 things that we're going to tackle Tuesday when we get back. So I can go literally wear myself out, Sam. Show up
yeah,
sore
yeah.
to my meeting with her at 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning and hit it hard.
Funny story. My property, and this is about time. So I'll uh, go out, especially springtime. We similar probably. You have storms and like thunderstorms and
We
things.
do.
And I tell people, if you're going out on my property, bring a chainsaw because there's a high likelihood there's a tree on the road, like
Yep.
during this time of year. And when I got my property, it was last year. And I work out. I'm not not like super fit, but I work out. I do these things. I'm trying to keep a healthy life too.
Yep.
So I go down to the property, and it's from my gate to my cabin is probably a quarter of a mile, and just a windy road. And there's 2 trees down on that path.
Wow.
And I have my chainsaw, pull my chainsaw out, go to work. And I thought, well, while I'm here, because I've got my side by side on the back, I said, I'll just throw a bunch of these logs on the back of the trailer. I'm gonna need some firewood anyway. And so cut the trees up, throw some firewood up, have a pretty good, amount of firewood on the back of the trailer, kind of surrounding the side by side, and it help, going down to the cabin. And the next morning when I wake up, I'm like, I could have spent 7 hours in the gym and not been this sore.
I'll tell you, I think it was you that told me, Sam, the last time was it you that told me that when you're chopping wood, your testosterone actually
It was,
increases?
I'm not sure if it was me, but I know that's the truth. That is, they've done
It was you.
studies and they said chopping wood has the like this, there's this mechanism that happens inside your body that and it produces the like there's all kind of things raise your testosterone, getting good sleep, eating healthier, some of the things that you do, but also certain activities like sprinting and things like that. But still, chopping wood has the highest return on testosterone production.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. We actually give guys a chance to do that. We just always have a block out there in case somebody wants to do it. But what's even more popular is when we bring out the hydraulic log splitter. We just let them, you
That's the
know.
reason our testosterone's low because we like it easy, But still, when I read that, I thought, because that's what I did. That night I got down there and no firewood, all this firewood, so I'm splitting firewood. And I remember that it was this. I have never been so sore in my life, and it was like for days. And now I get down there and I go, I need to chop wood. I need to cut up some logs. I look for dead trees to cut down so I can cut them. So yeah, guys need that in their life.
They do. They do.
Yeah, and especially in today's world. In today's world, man, we're not doing right by our testosterone.
It's
Um,
true.
so, um, Jeremy, I really enjoyed our conversation, and I definitely want to be a part of some of the things you're doing. I think we have some similarities in what we're trying to accomplish, and I think there's probably some synergies there. And so let's keep the conversations going. I'd like to have you
Okay.
back someday. We'll check on the progress of
Yeah.
Lake Longbow and maybe even have a like we're gonna be developing some like mini masterminds and things along the way too, so we can
Great.
bring some of our guys out, and I think it's going to be a great partnership. um well, if you're we will have in the on the website we'll have links to all of your information. So is there anything else or any keys to words of wisdom you want to leave the audience with before we go?
Well, thank you for giving us a platform to share the opportunity. And yeah, like you said, we're easy to find on Facebook. We have a Facebook page called Lake Longbow where we post a lot of fun pictures, of events that we do and just our time out there. You can easily find us at lakelongbow.com. There's pictures of the property. The only other, I think, words of wisdom that I would say is go for it. Don't let anything stop you from living your dreams. And I think the best advice that I've taken from like the Y Combinator world, the business, the startup world, is that number one, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you haven't launched fast enough, you know? And so just kind of go for it. And then also, don't be afraid to turn on the water. Like when you're putting plumbing into a new property, turn on the water because if it leaks, you're going to know real fast where it's leaking and how to fix it. But if you
Mhm.
don't turn the water on, if you're trying to perfect the plumbing before you turn the water on, you can spend a lot of time doing that. So just go for it. I have a video that I've taken. Actually, I've got like 3 years of video I haven't even released. So I want to start creating this channel because I can actually create a nice video YouTube guide of our journey throughout this whole process. I've got it all on video. I just don't have an editor. I haven't taken the time to sit and do that. But I would say I took a video before we closed on the property. And it was me. I'm a little bit younger. There's a little bit less gray. I've got my business partners and my wife in the background. And I'm just taking a video at one of these old cabins. And I'm like, I hope I have the courage to buy this place someday. I hope in 10 years I can watch this video and look at myself and say, I had the courage not to pass on that opportunity. I just went for it, regardless of what the challenges would be. One of the best books I've ever read was Undaunted Courage by Stephen Ambrose, and it's about the Lewis and Clark expedition. And good leadership is all it takes to discover a new route to the Pacific because those guys, they were light on resources. They didn't know what to expect. It didn't work out like what they thought. They didn't discover what they hoped they would find, but they found a bunch of other things and brought back knowledge to everybody else. And the thing that matters to the world is pioneers, people that go out and chop with a machete. They hack their pathway all the way through. Like, do you know who created the Oregon Trail?
No.
I can't remember their names either, but it was a couple. You know, if you're listening to this, go look up the couple that invented the Oregon Trail. And it was just a couple, and they just went out there. Nobody remembers the names of pioneers, really. But they create the superhighway that allows other people to come after them and experience this. Now, I'm the pioneer. By the time Lake Longbow becomes popular and commercialized, I'll be on to the next 10 projects. You know, I'll still get to use it and love it. But it takes those pioneers to get out there and say, just going to get my hands dirty.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my hands dirty this weekend and keep them dirty until I get there.
I'm envious. I don't have the chance, but I get to go next weekend. So I'm envious. So I'll be thinking about you.
Well, we'll get you out there to Lake Longbow, Sam.
I'm super excited to get out there.
Let's do
one
it.
last thing. Give me your top 3 things that you never leave when you're going to go out there. What are the things you take with you?
Great question. I take my 9mm Hellcat by Springfield Armory. It's a concealed gun that I carry with me. I've got a concealed carry permit. I get experience carrying my weapon, holstering my weapon, drawing my weapon out there, especially if I'm by myself. I'll just do draw exercises. I've actually had to put a deer down with my 9mm from a poacher one time. That's a crazy story we can talk about some other time. If you're going to have hunting land, you got to have crazy hunting stories.
Exactly.
And so I always take my 9mm. I always bring my some good fire starter. So if I get out there and it's been raining, I always bring one little section of kiln dried wood, so I can always start my first fire, get it going really, really good. And then I would say I always bring a journal, or I bring my Bible or something that allows me to let God speak to me. Because when you're out there in the solitude, a lot of people pray and they ask for things a lot. They pray for direction, but if you don't sit and listen afterwards, if you just pray and move on to the next thing, I think you're really missing it. And so a lot of times God will speak to me and or direct me to something in the Word, or I'll just get down on the dock and just listen, and He just speaks to me. Sometimes He tells me He's proud of me. Sometimes He gives me direction and people to reach out to encourage. But I just feel close and connected to Him. So I always just try to bring something that's not my phone, that I can kind of read or get into. I've got a copy of Walden out there that I like to read.
Yeah.
And my favorite line from Walden is when he says in the first paragraph, and it says, he talks a little bit about what he was doing out there, and then he says, "At present, I am a sojourner in civilized life." And so often that's how I feel, Sam. I feel so much like a sojourner in civilized life, like I'm meant to be out there, like I'm supposed to be out there. And when I come back to civilized life, I almost feel like I'm putting on my costume.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? And so I feel more myself when I'm out there than any other time.
Man, that hit. I hear you. I hear you on that one. Well, thanks again, Jeramie, for coming on the show, and we appreciate it. We'll have you back, like I said, and we'll definitely do some hunting together.
Can't wait.
All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in for the Hunt for Success. Until next time, this is Sam McGough signing off.
You've been listening to The Hunt for Success with Dr. Sam McGough. If this episode brought value to you, make sure you follow and subscribe so you never miss a conversation with the entrepreneurs and high performers building success on their own terms. For more episodes, resources, and insights on building wealth and designing freedom, visit thehuntforsuccess.com. Until next time, keep building, keep pursuing, and keep hunting for the life you want.